by Dame Mary's Paris banker, Mr. Arthur, and Mr. Fenwick's brother, Edward. Dame Mary had been in touch with Mr. Arthur often to ensure her affairs were in order and to share some gossip. On the other hand, Edward had met Dame Mary only twice before. During the previous summer, they had been introduced at the Fenwick family home in Essex, where the two seemingly made a connection, and then again a few weeks later in London, just before the group had set out on their travels. The brief encounters had made an impression on both. That same summer, Michael Dahl, a fashionable portraitist amongst conservative grandees, painted Dame Mary in his studio on Leicester Square. Mary is in her widow's clothes, a simple black shawl and a dress, a white lace collar and sleeves offering contrast. There is no background scenery, nor any object of contemplation in her hands, no rings on her fingers. It is as if she's looking into the future with nothing to guide her. She wears a white veil that frames her face. It appears like a Spanish mantilla with an intricate fringe. Her face is plain, without expression. Her eyes are heavily lidded. The portrait seems intended to display rather than record the person. Here was a woman who now faced the world alone. She was only 35 years old, a mother of 4 children, 3 boys, and a 7-month-old daughter. As the child heir of an extensive plot of land to the west of the city, she had been marked out as an heiress of considerable fortune. As a child, she had been a prize in the marriage market, the subject of negotiations with aristocrats and grandees, and finally a wife, married before her 13th birthday, and possibly a mother still in her teens. As a widow, this inheritance was now hers once again, held on behalf of her children and future generations. She was already taking control of the management of the estate, and while in London had signed a contract concerning a lease. This was the first legal agreement that she had signed in her own name. For reasons we will see, it turned out to be her last. Something about those 2 short meetings in Essex and London had encouraged Edward Fenwick to follow on to Paris some months later. His cousin, Francis Radcliffe, had encouraged him to pursue his courtship, yet Edward had arrived in Paris 3 days after his brother, and Dame Mary had left for Rome, and he was forced to linger there for their return. In the meantime, he had taken a position as a tutor to a young aristocrat. However, once Dame Mary had arrived back in the city, Edward's attentions again turned to the ailing widow. Over the next week, Dame Mary kept her rooms at the Hotel Castile. Edward and other visitors were allowed to visit on Tuesday. There were solicitations after her health, as well as opinions sought and discussions on who were the best doctors amongst the English community in Paris. On the following day, Dr. Ayres, recommended by Mr. Arthur, was called for, and Dame Mary was given an emetic to purge her malady. Despite the unpleasant vomiting, which weakened her body, the antimony did not seem to have had the desired effect, and on Thursday the doctor prescribed opium pills. By Friday, the symptoms had not altered, and the doctor returned to bleed the patient as she lay in her bed. She was also dosed with opium. The bleeding was intended to release a surfeit of blood that caused the hot fever, but this only weakened her further. On the following morning, Saturday the 18th, gossip started to thread through the English community in Paris. Her name began to circulate with the news that Mary had woken up that morning with Mr. Fenwick in her bed, and the widow had taken the sacred oath of marriage. There seemed to be no other witnesses than the couple, Father Fenwick, who conducted the service, and 2 servants. Could it be true? Immediately, whispers of foul play swirled. Mr. Lewis, secretary to the British ambassador, noted that he had heard particularly in the chocolate and coffee houses that Dame Mary Grosvenor had lately received ill usage from Lodovick Fenwick and persons about her. The ambassador himself contacted London in order to get word to Mary's family. He feared that she was being trapped and that they might lose her estate through this misadventure. Nearly 3 weeks later, Mary found her way back to London and to her mother's house at Millbank, overlooking the Thames. Here, still in an anxious maid.